When a preemie comes home and goes out into the world, they're living in the gap between their birth age and their corrected age. We talked about that in an earlier episode. But beyond that gap, some preemies also experience developmental delays. There are areas where development just takes longer or looks different from other children their age. That was our case. Hi, this is Never Too Early. Today, I want to talk about why delays happen in some preemies, what kind of delays are common, and how we navigated it, including a few things I really wish I had known earlier. A baby in the womb is in an incredibly protected and stable environment. Everything is delivered directly through the placenta, so the brain and body can put almost all their energy into building. But when a baby is born very early, that changes immediately. Now the body has to manage breathing, temperature, feeding, and dealing with all the stimulation of the outside world in the NICU, like hospital lights, alarms going off, constant checkups, and so on, while it's still supposed to be building its system. The earlier the birth, the bigger this challenge becomes. The risk is real, but it is not always permanent. There are three main areas where preemie delays tend to show up: motor development, language, and cognition. And they often overlap with each other. Motor delays are the most visible and they're the most common in extreme preemies. They show up in crawling, walking, balancing, and coordination. Research found that around 16% of children born at 24 to 26 weeks had a gross motor delay at 2 years corrected age. Fine motor skills like the precision of hand movements, grasping small objects can be affected too. Language delays are also frequently found in preemies. In children born extremely preterm, there can be mild to moderate language delays in early years, but a lot of that gap closes over time. Language difficulties may be connected to both cognitive and motor development, including the oromotor muscles that control speech. Cognitive delays affect learning, attention, and processing. They're also more common in extreme preemies, but the range is wide. Learning disabilities are reported in 50 to 70% of extremely and very preterm infants, but many children manage well with the right support. What's worth saying clearly is that none of this is set in stone. Most kids with preemie related delays can make real progress over time. Every single child's path is different. I'd like to share my son's specific case here. He has a major mobility delay. He skipped crawling entirely, which impacted all the following mobility development milestones. He only learned to sit himself up at 20-month corrected age. He started walking with support around 2, and now at 3, he can walk, but it's not entirely smooth yet. He cannot run or jump yet like other children his age. And every time we go out, I still have to watch him constantly because a fall can happen in a split second. I try so hard to be patient with him and to not measure him against any kind of standard, but there were moments where the difference was just so obvious that I worried if this was going to be permanent or if I was doing something wrong. But on the flip side, cognitively, he is way ahead. His memory, his language, his reasoning, even his fine motor skills are exceptional since he was tiny. He could remember the layout of our neighborhood from around 10-month corrected age, and by 2, he was reminding me what was on our to-do list or grocery list if I forget anything. By 3, he's able to translate English and Korean into German, which is his output language, perfectly. It's almost like he was observing and processing everything, doing what he could do with his hands and brain, even though his body couldn't keep up physically. So there's this massive gap between where he is cognitively and where he is physically. So this gap affected other things too, because his body hasn't felt secure for most of these 3 years. While he is so cognitively aware of the fact that he's not secure, he didn't want to do things that he can clearly see the risk of. For example, he never really enjoyed group settings like baby groups, playrooms, and so on because small children's behavior is unpredictable the way they naturally are. And also, it took him so long to feel like trying some of the moving structures in the playground. He had been mostly reserved, wearing a very serious face. So some moms in those groups jokingly mentioned that they should discuss tax or mortgage with him. I tried a lot of different things based on general medical advice to try and help him improve, which I'll talk about in another episode. And one of those was physiotherapy. Our pediatrician, who has over 40 years of experience and has literally seen it all, had been telling me this from the very beginning. Unless there's brain damage, preemies will do things on their own timeline. Don't force it, every child has different paths. So she wasn't even in favor of starting physiotherapy too early. She thought it could do more harm than good at that stage. We insisted anyway and started physiotherapy when my son was around 3 month corrected age. It was a disaster. Every single session was just intense crying and resistance, and two different therapists from the same center tried and both just gave up. And we tried the second round with a new therapist when he was around 1.5 corrected age. He actually got along with her really well, but the progress was very, very slow. At least he learned to sit himself up during that round. Then we took the summer break. We started our third round with her again when he was 2.5 years corrected age, which has been going on for about 7 months now. This time was when our pediatrician finally got on board with physiotherapy because she could see my son was ready, finally, both physically and mentally. And then things moved really fast. He started really enjoying the sessions and making big progress. His walking got so much more stable. He started trying new movements and he started gaining strength, control over his own body, and with that, confidence. And it's been incredible to watch him open up because of it. He used to be this quiet baby with a serious face, but now he's a total chatterbox with the people close to him, and he can even introduce himself to a stranger with confidence when we encourage him. Now I really understand what our pediatrician was trying to say. Timing matters so much, and a child who isn't ready is going to resist, and forcing it just creates a stress without much benefit. And the right therapist whose experience and temperament match your preemie's needs is ideal if you can find one. Yes, there is still some mobility delay, but it's so much better even compared to just 2 months ago. Watching him gain strength and confidence, watching his personality really come alive has been such a joy. And watching how his mind works has helped me stay grounded through the harder days of mobility delays. It reminded me that he is building, just not evenly and not on anyone else's timeline. I want to share a few things that made a difference for us over these past 3 years navigating major mobility delays. First, get your information from the right place. The people who actually know your child's full history, like your pediatrician, your specialist team, should be where you start. Not Instagram, not Reddit. Those have their place for community and comfort, but medical decisions should come from the people who have actually examined your child. Second, do your own research to understand, not to diagnose. There's a real difference between researching so that you can ask better questions and researching to build your own conclusions about what's wrong and what to do. Let's do this constructively, not in a way that just creates more anxiety for ourselves. Third, be patient with the timeline. This is the hardest one. Our kids' system are still building and still catching up even after they leave the NICU. Forcing development before the body is ready doesn't speed things up. It just creates stress for everyone and it can do more harm than good. Trust the process, trust your medical team, and celebrate every single step when it comes. It's not easy watching your child's development look different from the kids around them. It takes more patience, more research, more appointments, and more advocacy. But taking your child as who they actually are instead of measuring them against where they're supposed to be is really the foundation of everything. Our kids came early. They went through the NICU and everything that came with it. They've already handled way more than most people will ever understand. So these little fighters are building their system in their own way, in their own timeline, and they will get there. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one. This is Never Too Early.